Welcome to the Wireless LAN News Desk on December 7th, 2018. My name is Tom Carpenter. I'm the CTO at CWNP. And this week in the news, a couple of issues. First of all, the sticky Wi-Fi problem, why your phone hangs up on you. The issue that Christopher Mims is talking about here in the Wall Street Journal is the issue where your Wi-Fi device connects to a hotspot. And even though it's also a cellular phone, as you move away from the hotspot, it clings to that hotspot, even beyond the point where it can effectively communicate with it. The interesting thing in the article that I did take an issue with is that it suggests in one particular phrase here that one that cripples them until they move beyond the range of the offending Wi-Fi hotspot. So, the phrase the offending Wi-Fi hotspot seems to indicate that the hotspot is the offending device. Well, that may be true in some cases. For example, if the hotspot is using too much output power, then phones with low output power are going to end up in these types of scenarios, very likely, where they stick to it even though they shouldn't. However, it can also be a problem of the phone itself, not having good roaming algorithms. So we never want to diminish the roaming algorithms in the client device as being the actual issue. And later on, he goes into a solution of building it into these phones so that they do a better job of roaming back to cellular. And of course, that is the primary solution. However, there is another, and that is that the designers who designed the wireless LAN for the hotspot should be designing it such that it works within the area where it should work for the right kind of phones. So for example, you know that you're going to have a lot of devices come in there with lower output power. So don't use 100 milliwatts of output power on the hotspot. If you need to cover a larger space, you need more access points in order to provide the proper coverage so that those devices can have the needed reciprocity to communicate well with that wireless LAN. So there's fault on both sides. It could be an offending Wi-Fi hotspot. It could be an offending sticky client as well. Both of these are very likely causes of such a problem. But I'm glad that at the very least that Christopher has brought to the attention of the world in a very widely read publication, the Wall Street Journal, that it is an issue that needs to be addressed. Now, the other piece in the news today is the Wi-Fi booster market. Now, this research is done by an organization called Wise Guy Reports, and I'm not certain exactly what they included as boosters, but the description here says that these boosters or extenders aid in combating low coverage by increasing the signal saturation and also help by optimizing the network. It says they're simple to set up, they achieve a maximum signal at the location where your clients are, and so forth. Notice that it says the Wi-Fi booster helps to quickly create a wireless network or bridges the access points to extend the network. There's no real mention of mesh, so I'm just not certain if they have included mesh in this, but they expect this market to be worth $3,155.25 million by 2023. So you do the math, you're talking about roughly 3.2 billion. That's a big market for something that if they're only including actual extenders, repeaters, Wi-Fi boosters, I'm going to really be frustrated in 2023. Because I don't want $3.2 billion worth of extenders being sold if they're in that repeater space. So I'm very hopeful they're including mesh in this report. I didn't see a lot of detail when I went to their site as well as to what exactly is included because, of course, they want you to buy the report. But here's the thing I want to get out there. Use mesh, don't use repeaters. And only use mesh if you actually need mesh. If you have multiple Ethernet ports, even in a consumer space, then use multiple APs instead of using mesh. If you don't have multiple Ethernet ports to connect the APs to, then use mesh. So it's going to depend on what you have. But the last resort would be a repeater because they're going to reduce your throughput significantly on the wireless LAN. So if they're just talking about repeaters, I really hope their prediction is wrong and this market is a whole lot smaller come 2023. Well, that's all I have for the news desk today, and I appreciate you joining and watching this week, and I'll see you again next week for the Wireless LAN News Desk.